Hi, this is Steve Cavietes with the Duopoly Report. Thanks for joining me. So, the New Mexico legislative session is over, but the talk about it is far from over. There's a lot that happened this session, and over the course of time, we're going to be covering lots of bits and pieces of it. But we've had some fantastic examples of how the Duopoly and the Donkeyphant coalition has been at work, and we're going to show them to you issue by issue. Tonight, we've got the minimum wage on tap, which is a really huge issue. It was fought over, and we had a House and Senate that each had different ideas, and a conference committee compromise that came out from all of this, and some people are touting, well, we got a new minimum wage, and it's better, but I'm going to show you how it is about as minimally better as they could possibly make it. So here's the setup. We had three main things that happened. So these are the minimum wage proposals here. We had House Bill 31, Senate Bill 437, and then the conference committee substitution for actually the Senate bill. So if we look one by one, first, the big one that was being pushed through most of the session was House Bill 31. Miguel Garcia was the main driver of it. There were others signed on to the bill as well. And as you see here, it was going to start us with having a $10 an hour minimum wage throughout the state, starting in January 1st of 2020. And then there would be subsequent increases. I think it was once each year at the beginning of January, we'd go to 11 and then to 12 by 2022, January 1st of 2022, we'd be at $12 an hour. Not only that, but from that year forward, every year they would check the CPI index, the cost of living index basically, and if there was an increase calculated in that CPI, then whatever percentage, that percentage would be added to the then $12 an hour, and it would basically adjust with the cost of living inflation, so that minimum wage would always still be the same amount of money. No matter if things got more expensive, they'd earn a little bit more, but they would be in the same place, which is something that's been a problem for a long time. Our 750 an hour minimum wage hasn't been changed in 10 years, but expenses have changed in 10 years. So that's what the indexing part was about. So now, of course, Senator Clemente Sanchez was driving a Senate bill alternative, and he's, of course, one of the Donkeyphants. And his proposal started at $9.25 an hour. It would start in October of 2019. A little bit earlier, but then it would be it would go up steadily until we got to $11 an hour. That would top off in 2023, and there was no indexing for cost of inflation. So that was the Senate plan. Now, what happened? Excuse me, I've been fighting the seasonal allergy / legislative crud has been going around in New Mexico. So if I clear my throat on this one, you'll know why. All right, so those are the two main bills, and actually the House bill went through and got through the House in a pretty good form. Actually, the Republicans did try to mess with it a little bit. They tried to delay it. They don't have the votes in the House, and it got through the House in a pretty good fashion. But as usual, when it got to the Senate Corporations and Finance Committee, which is chaired by Clemente Sanchez, there it came up against the wall. And the Donkeyphants control that committee. They have a big majority on it. And so this is also where Senator Sanchez was going to proffer his alternative. Now, here's the interesting thing. Even in that committee meeting, they heard both bills. And they ended up killing Miguel Garcia's House bill. Then they looked at Clemente Sanchez's and actually made some amendments that aren't on this chart to water it down a little bit more. Mary Kay Papin, who was a deciding vote, well, Mary Kay Papin and Clemente Sanchez voted no on Miguel Garcia's bill. And then, of course, Clemente Sanchez voted yes on his own bill. Mary Kay Papin still voted no on Clemente Sanchez's bill, which was interesting to me because you would have thought that maybe there had been some agreement and camaraderie amongst the Donkeyphants about this, but maybe there wasn't. Maybe that family atmosphere that Senator Papin so loves to talk about the state Senate being was not in effect here. So the bill gets slightly amended, slightly watered down, gets through the Senate, and the House then quickly, because we're running out of time, the House had to vote on whether they agreed with this. They voted that they did not agree with the Senate plan. So as a result, there had to be a conference committee and some kind of an ironing out that both sides could agree on. As a result, we have what came out here. A conference committee, which is made up of 3 House members, 3 Senate members, 2 Democrats, 1 Republican on each side. But as we know, in the case of the Senate, both the Democrats, John Arthur Smith and Clemente Sanchez, are Donkeyphants for sure. So again, you have the Donkeyphant majority going into this conference committee, which leads us to this bill where we're at $9 an hour starting. Doesn't start till January of 2020, and it'll eventually get to $12 an hour in 2023, and there's no indexing. So that is what the discussion is going to be about in a little clip I've got for you here. I got like about a 3-minute clip showing you some of the discussion that happened. Representative Eliseo Alcon, he from Milan, just outside of Grants, a Democrat, he had some issues with the conference substitution and didn't mind saying 1 or 2 things about it. And we're also going to hear a response from Senator John Arthur Smith on this as well. So
but I cannot understand the backing off on that 25 cents.
Well, Representative, I think that was part of the compromise that went on, with us. But we also have to look at in the future in terms of the wage increases. And we felt that if we started off at 9, it'd be kind of smooth sailing in terms of the other increases that we see in the following years. And it would also give the state time to adjust in terms of the budget issue, but also, the industry. So we felt that 25 cents or whatever price we were starting on. I mean, we were starting off at 10 on the House bill, but the way that it levels off, I think can compensate for those increases that we were starting off with the original Senate bill and with the original House bill, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you. And Mr. Chair, I understand, but I understand compromise is maybe somewhere in the middle at least. I mean, we started off at 10, we started at 9 1/4. I thought that you would have at least settled for a compromise in between the numbers. But I don't see the compromise in the numbers, which is what bothers me.
Well, thank you for that, Representative.
Mr. Chairman,
And I'll leave it at that.
when you look at New Mexico as a geographically very, very large, in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, they don't realize it. But down south, we're in competition with Texas. Texas is still at 725 on that, from that standpoint. And so we're sensitive up here to a different set of numbers. We're sensitive down south to a different set of numbers. Compromise means everybody has a little victory, but they all have a little defeat for it to work.
Compromise means we meet somewhere in the middle at least, or at least to start. I we didn't go backwards. I'm sorry, I'll just leave it with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I move it?
So here you have Representative Alcon, and what he's saying here is he's not feeling the compromise because The House bill, part with he was part of, was $10 an hour. The Senate bill was $9.25 an hour. Okay, so now we're going to create a compromise. So, what is that compromise? Is it $9.50? Is it $9.75? What are we looking at here? And he's confused because we're at 9. So, and that's where his confusion's coming in. Now, Representative, Senator Smith. Senator Smith comes in and says, well, look, there's different things going on here. We're looking at different stuff. And, some people are going to win and some people are going to lose, or we all win and we all lose. And I can see where Senator Smith thinks that he's losing is that they're agreeing to the House's eventual $12 an hour. All right. Can you deal with that? Oh yeah, sure, it's going to take you an extra year, 2023, before hardworking people at the low end of the scale, get what they deserve. Hopefully they can, live that long. Hopefully they can survive that long. Hopefully they don't die before then or have an accident or anything. Of course, Senator Smith doesn't really care much about that. He talks about how, in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, you're dealing with different numbers, have higher minimum wage levels. And then down south, they're competing with Texas, which is still at the federal minimum of $7.25 an hour. And so I guess by his philosophy, if you really listen to what he's saying is, if you got a lower minimum wage, that's where business wants to be. And so if we have a higher minimum wage, then we have a problem. We're already 1/4 higher than Texas outside of certain municipalities, which, by the way, Las Cruces has over a $10 an hour minimum wage itself. So there is places down south that are above the state minimum. But by his philosophy, then, just think about it. Really, what he's saying is I want to be competitive with that. And in fact, because it's that lower minimum wage that makes all the difference. Honestly, in my opinion, I think in Senator Smith's opinion, we should be at $7.25. Screw, the $7.50 we're at. We should be at $7.25 so we can have more business. In fact, by his philosophy, we should, if there was some way we could do it, we should be underneath the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage. Why don't we just pay him $6 an hour? We'll get even more business that way, right? I mean, that's the best to do. So where's the compromise? And I think that what you're seeing here is that when we're at the $9 an hour, like Representative Alcon stated, is that usually when you see two bills and one saying $9.25 and one saying $10, the compromise number is going to be somewhere in between that. But the compromise number started even lower than the more conservative state Senate plan that Senator Clemente Sanchez put forward. So here's Senator Clemente Sanchez carrying water for the Donkeyphants, and look what happens. He's getting punked by John Arthur Smith. I mean, I would be embarrassed if I was him right now. I mean, he's making Senator Clemente Sanchez look like a fool because in the end, the compromise neither has the starting wage that the Senate bill proposed, and it doesn't have the ending wage that the Senate proposed. It has next to nothing. So where is the compromise coming in? I think what the compromise is between the House bill and Senator John Arthur, I'm the Emperor of New Mexico Smith. That his proposal is, why don't we go back to slavery and not have a minimum wage? And, I guess, after a while we'll pay people whatever. He wants nothing. He wants zero. Zero. He wants no change. And that's the level that he starts with in creating this compromise. My starting point is zero change. And your starting point is House Bill 31. And so here's where we get in between making the compromises with this conference bill. Now, they've got him over a barrel. They've got the votes for it. And I'm certain that even with, House member Miguel Garcia trying to give a thoughtful explanation to Representative Alcon as to why they did this and why it's okay. I can tell in his voice he's not happy about it either. But they don't have the votes. Between the one House Republican, the one House Senator, and the two Donkeyphants of the New Mexico apocalypse in the Senate, all forming a coalition that's bigger than the two remaining House members, they basically told them, look, you either take this or just forget about your hike. It's either our way or the highway. So if you're wondering why it matters who is in the state Senate, if you're wondering what one or two politicians can make a difference in having or not having, this is part of your answer right here. And the way the legislature's running right now can be encapsulated almost best in a special hot mic moment after the bill was passed by Representative Alcon. This is just a quickie little statement at the end of this whole thing, but it pretty much sums up the experience of a lot of House members this year in the legislature, and maybe House members that have been experiencing this, like Representative Alcon, for decades, as to how things really go down in the legislature.
Yeah, that's cool. I can't have what I
I believe
want,
he's so sizable that relative.
but that's been the norm around here. I never get what I want. Just certain people get what they want.
Yes, Representative Alcon, you're exactly right. Certain people always get what they want. And this is just one example of that. And keep watching. We're going to have more. But I'm telling you, this has got to end. This has got to end. And these kingpins like Mary Kay Papin and John Arthur Smith, this is enough. John Arthur Smith runs this Senate and runs the legislature imperiously, as if his are the only opinions that matter. And it shows forth in things like this. And he doesn't give a damn about what anyone else thinks. Just a few business interests and that it. As far as people are concerned, you're just another widget out there. So, people are unimportant to him. With 780, I go hungry. And I know that he'd want less. Thank you for watching. Hey, thank you for watching the Duopoly Report. If you liked the video you saw, please make sure to click the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button and click that bell to make sure that you get notified when I drop a new video. And if you really want to support this project and see more important information that New Mexico and other people need about what's going on in our politics that is never talked about, please support my Patreon page. All the links are down below.